grew up in a small town in Nebraska, and when I was growing up, the messages that I received early on were that the Democrats are the party that cares about marginalized minorities, that care that care about the working class, that care about downtrodden people, that care about equity and things like that. That Republicans are the party of greedy, self-interested, straight white people who only care about other greedy, self-interested, straight white people. And so I fell for the marketing of the Democrat Party, which was the entertainment industry, the news media, the music industry, everything that said, if you are a black person, a brown person, an LGBT person, the only option that you have is to vote Democrat because the Republicans hate you. And so it really didn't dawn on me to make any other choice, except I knew I was going to vote for Barack Obama because he was a black man and it was time for America to have a black president. I don't really care about his qualifications or what he stood for or what his values were. I just cared that he was black and that and Hollywood celebrities were saying you've got to vote for this black person, and so was most of the mainstream media. And when Hillary announced that she was running, I was then very excited to have our first woman president, so I voted for her. And I believed the media that had told me that Donald Trump had like a 3% chance of winning. She was going to win in a landslide, which was really good news because that same media also kept saying that he was a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, the second coming of Hitler, that he was pretty much the same stuff they're saying today, right? So when he got elected, I was really shocked and horrified, and two things were going on at the same time. One, I was a mess because Donald Trump had become the president, but two, I didn't understand how the media that I trusted could get it so wrong. And so my journey to understanding was never a journey to try to be okay with Trump or the Republican Party. I just knew that I was really miserable. When Donald Trump got elected, I was literally crying on Facebook Live videos. And so I went on this journey to try to understand how the media got it so wrong. And when I started to fall down rabbit hole after rabbit hole for months, what I ultimately discovered was that pretty much everything that I believed that the media had been telling me was a lie. It was a manipulation to try to control the way that I think, so they could control the way that I feel, so that they could control the way that I vote. And Donald Trump is not a racist. He's not a bigot. He's not out to destroy America. He's not a dictator or a tyrant or his second incarnation of Adolf Hitler. He's actually, I think, and again, this is not about supporting Trump, but that's where my journey led me. As I said before, it's a journey, not a destination. My journey led me to supporting Donald Trump because I came to realize that as a gay man, not to mention just as an American in general, but if you are black or brown or LGBT or an immigrant or a woman, the Democrats and the media are lying to us. They're using us. They're exploiting us and manipulating us so that they can get our vote. And that's all they care about. And but Donald Trump actually, he didn't need to do this. It started to kind of come clear to me. He's a very wealthy man with a beautiful wife. He could have had an amazing life and just played golf and enjoyed his grandchildren and being with his incredibly hot wife for his remaining years. And instead, he put himself in a position where he's getting shot in the head and criminally indicted 900 times and threatened with imprisonment, and they're trying to bankrupt him and destroy his life in every possible way. And he's still doing this because he sees what's at stake. And he knows what we're up against. And that if we have 4 more years of the Democratic Party, I don't think America can survive it. So ultimately, it was the realization that the media that I had been believing my entire life was duplicitous and lying to me. And so I walked away from the Democratic Party. And when I did, I lost about 90% of my friends because I started speaking out about what I was learning and challenging the things that I believed and that my friends, fellow liberals believed. And what I first noticed was that I was being met with this wall of hostility and contempt just for changing my mind, just for asking questions or just saying, and it began with just things like, did he really call all Mexicans rapists? No. Is the Muslim ban really a ban? No. Is the border wall racist? No. But just by asking these questions, people began to turn on me. And I guess the rebellious nature inside of me just said, to hell with this. I'm a gay man. I've already lived in the closet. I'm not going to live in the closet twice. There's nothing wrong with what I believe or what I think. I'm changing my mind, which is my prerogative. And if I can't be allowed to do that, then I need to walk away. And so I did. And then I started the Walk Away campaign. And other people walked away. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I'm only here for the free pizza, but I got
Right.
something.
Absolutely.
My name is Mike. I come from New York City, born and raised my entire life. I guess my walkaway kind of started around primary of the 2016 election. I'd always cared about politics and wanted to educate myself, and it was really in that primary trying to decide between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, especially if you're from a blue city. Republican is not even a consideration to you. Democrat is just a confirm. So, of course, those were my only two choices. And I was very undecided and wanted to educate myself on the two candidates, their history, their records, what they would do. And I found that no matter which of them I dug into, I wasn't allowed to. So you find something about Bernie Sanders you don't love. That's racist. You better not say that. Something about Hillary Clinton you don't love. That's sexist. And I've just always been the type of person that you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it. You tell me not to say something, I'm going to say it louder. And so I just kept researching, and then I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I just kind of threw my vote away third party because I was like, I can't stand all these people. I had a lot of doubts about Trump because I watched every season of Celebrity Apprentice, and I was not happy with his choices. So I didn't think he would be a great president, but he outdid my expectations. And then once he was, we'll have questions after Mr. Post.
Yeah. What's that? Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. Just yeah. Celebrity.
Oh, yeah. Authorization point. Anyway, once he, so I didn't vote for him.
Thank you, Hope.
Once he became president, the things that you hear about him doing versus what he was actually doing and trying to find the raw data and the raw footage and the raw facts were completely night and day. And so I just kept researching more. What do you mean there is no Muslim ban, which is an Obama-era policy? And I very quickly learned that they really only have one tactic, which is emotional manipulation. So overnight, I became a racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic Nazi. I always tell them only homophobic is true. But yeah, it became very clear to me how they pit minority groups against one another. Minorities are their human shield, is how they effectively manipulate people. And it's only because it's only so effective because we're not a racist country, we're not a homophobic country, we're not any of these things, but those words have so much sway over people. And so I really learned the destructive impact of both their policies and their messaging, pitting every group against every group. And I would say, look at the results of it. You have every group fighting with each other. We can no longer agree on basic facts. We can no longer agree what a man or a woman is. And they just pander to every group. By running Kamala Harris, they're pandering very hard for the gay vote by nominating a whore.
Tell us how you really feel.
So, anyway, that's basically my story.
Hi, I'm Natalie. Thank you guys all for being here. I come from Southern California. I've been there my whole life, and I was an actress for a while. And I'm also a millennial, and I feel like everyone in Southern California who's a millennial and then also involved in acting at all, you know, you kind of just are reflexively Democrat, you're reflexively liberal. And I kind of just took it as gospel truth that if you're a compassionate person, you vote Democrat. I didn't really think about it. Every 4 years, I would go vote for the Democrat candidate for president and then not even know anything else on the ballot at all or care. I voted for Obama. I voted for Hillary Clinton. And then 2020 happened, and in March 2020, I lost both my jobs overnight, and I never saw those jobs again, although I didn't necessarily know that that was going to be the case at the time. And I complied with everything that was asked of me. I did everything to a T. I didn't visit my family. I had a grandmother dying alone, not from COVID, just dying alone unnecessarily. But I followed all the rules. And then summer 2020 came around. And I was told, we were all actually told that we could go out and protest or riot, especially in Los Angeles, but we still couldn't go to work. And I thought that was crazy because I need to go to work. And I'm actually someone who needs a paycheck and can't just survive on what the government gives me. Need family, maybe need to not have my grandmother die alone, which she ended up doing. And, you know, I watched as the Democrats in my city. I mean, certainly it was Republicans too at the time. I'm not excusing that at all, but I watched as the politicians in my city and all the talking heads and even some of the medical professionals, as they said, do not shut down these protests, which I actually agree with. I think that you should have your peaceful protest, and BLM would have been an organization that, as a liberal, as a lifelong Democrat, I would have supported. But every time that I just ask the question about why can't I go to work? Is this really as deadly as they say? I was called racist and selfish by all the people who knew me and loved me and had done theater with me and knew the kind of woman that I was. And it blew my mind. I was told to read How to Be an Anti-Racist and White Privilege, which in fact I did, and they're trash, they're garbage. You know, because that was one of the reasons I left acting years earlier, that I had seen this push for racial diversity above everything else, and this push to only tell a certain kind of story. And I don't mind racial diversity at all, but I don't think it should be your top goal. And I do not. The first time I heard white privilege was when I was a Democrat, and I had drank all the Kool-Aid, but I don't identify with white privilege. You know, I'm blessed in a lot of ways, in the same way we all are, to be able-bodied. I have a family who loves me. I'm an American. But none of it has to do with the color of my skin. And my family has struggled immensely. My parents have struggled immensely. I have struggled immensely. I'm sure everyone in this room has. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then when it came to 2020, and it was like my experience didn't matter, and I was one of millions of Americans of every color who we knew relatively early on we were going to be okay. And I'm sorry for the people who weren't okay with COVID, but it affected a very specific part of the population. And to tell me that I couldn't go to work. And in Los Angeles, it didn't end. You know, if this had been a blip on the radar, maybe I would have stayed a Democrat and just forgiven it. But Los Angeles was in a mask mandate for 2 straight years. I tried to go back to work early. I got off unemployment when I could have stayed on. And I ended up getting fired because I didn't want to take a shot. And I had tried to go back to work early to another job. We had vaccine passports for a period of about 6 months. I could not go into a bar or a restaurant and be served indoors. I had to sit outdoors if there was room, no matter what the weather was, or I could take it to go. And obviously that's not the end of the world, but it's also not American. And there were many jobs that I couldn't work. I couldn't go to events. And I have lived in LA for 10 years, and I've lived in California my entire life and paid taxes there and been a law-abiding citizen. And that is egregious. So I walked away from the Democrat Party because they never said sorry. They've never apologized. They've never reckoned with that. And certainly, as I said, we all did bad in the first 2 weeks, but the Democrats milked it for every dang drop that it was worth, and then some. It was horrible living in LA. It was horrible. And the fact that that happened, I still can't believe it. I'll never, ever forget it at all. And then you start, at the time, I hated Donald Trump, but you start researching because, to me, as someone who didn't know anything about politics, just wanted to go back to work, it seemed at the time like he was the only guy talking about opening up the country again. And I know now that he wasn't, but it just seemed like he was. And I hated him so much, but I was so desperate to get back to work. And looking around me, everything was so insane that I started looking into him. And I was floored to realize how much I had been lied to. I mean, 2020 was the first time I realized that he did not say very fine people on both sides, including the Nazis, where he literally says, but not the white supremacists, because they should be condemned totally. I didn't know that for 3 years. And I'm a smart woman. But that's the level of lies and manipulation that the Democrat Party and the legacy media puts on all of us. And so then I started looking into it and realizing I'd been lied to a heck of a lot. And I proudly voted for him in 2020, which is something I never thought would have happened. And again, we're not a Trump organization, but that's where some of this research leads you to, because you do realize that there are a lot of lies. And I don't mind you not liking Donald Trump, but I wish that more Americans understood the actual truth, actual reality, as opposed to the lies and the manipulation. Because it's if he's really as bad as you tell me that he is, why are you lying about him? Why don't you say what he actually said? Yeah. And then I'll see for myself how awful he is. But it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know? So that's why I walked away from the Democrat Party, and I've never, ever looked back, because every day since it's just gotten more and more crazy, especially in LA. But I really admire you all for being here, whether you agree or disagree, because when I was a liberal, I don't think I would have sat through something like this. I wouldn't have had the wherewithal, so I think it's admirable. And one of my biggest regrets in life is not waking up sooner. So if you're someone who's like-minded and you're on the right track this young, I think that's also very laudable. So I applaud everyone in this room, really. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I'm switching over to only Eddie Block Films on Rumble. So go to Rumble, Eddie Block Films, and you'll see this.
So we were out tailing today, and we had different signs, kind of talking about different issues. And